It's day 3, I think, working on the new round bale feeder. If you missed the first couple videos on this project, we basically tore down a little section of fence line feeder, and I'm going to replace it with what will be used to feed round bales. I've got the entrance to the feeder done. I've got the rest of the fence line sort of tied into it, and today my goal is to get the perimeter of the actual feeder done. That's what's going on today on Farmertylerranch. Now, just to get you caught up, I took the liberty of welding these pipes, finished welding them all this morning. I didn't film any of that though, because you guys have seen me weld before and you already saw them tacked up in place, so there really wasn't a lot to show. I also cut a lot of the pieces that I'm going to use to make this perimeter frame. Again, you've seen me run the chop saw plenty. I think the more compelling part of this is actually seeing it go together. So as you can see here, I've got some clamps and some jack stands set up to get my first pipe roughly in place. And once I'm satisfied with that, I think I can just kind of keep going around the perimeter and we'll see if we can get this done. If you're wondering what the purpose of this piece of angle iron here is, it's so that I know this pipe is coming off of the entrance to the feeder at a perfect 90-degree angle. I probably could figure this out with tape measures and all that other stuff, but it's a lot easier to just clamp a piece of angle iron here and then you know it's straight. I'm pretty sure that this concrete slab's not level, so now I need to decide, do I want my horizontal pipes on the feeder to be true level, or do I want them to follow the slab? And I'm not really sure. I'm gonna check this all out and see how far off it is. Maybe I'll get lucky and maybe both of those things are the same, but I really kind of doubt it. This one's about 23 even to the bottom of the pipe. And surprisingly, the level is actually saying that that end needs to come up or this end needs to go down, and that's what the tape is telling me as well. So maybe this won't be as much of a compromise as I was thinking it was going to be. All right, I played around with this a little bit and I think it's pretty close. It's parallel with the concrete and it's just a little bit off level according to the level. So I think, you know, we're not doing anything permanently yet. So I will go ahead and mock up the post here on the end, and if I want to make some changes, then I can. I got my little bottom bar tacked into place here because, well, I needed the clamps that were holding it up there. I'm pretty sure that it is where I'm going to want it. But like I say, it's only tacked in place, so if I need to move it, it's not a big deal. But I did want to get the top bar in to kind of help square this post up. And yeah, so we'll do that and see how it looks. Oh boy, this is heavy. All right, this is starting to look like something, and if I've done a bad job of explaining what this will eventually become, it's probably starting to make a little bit more sense now. Before I get too carried away though, welding this all together, I remembered that I wanted to add a foot here in the middle to kind of help hold this in place. I got to thinking about it, and because this ended up being a little bit wider than I originally planned, I can reasonably assume that the cows are going to be pushing on it pretty hard to reach that last bit of hay that's out there in the center. So I think adding another foot in the middle to hold this to keep it from bowing in is a good idea. So yeah, let's do that now. All right, well, this is pretty much it for the main frame here. Now I just have to do the exact same thing on the other side. And because building the other side should be exactly the same as it was building this side, I'm not gonna film it, I'm just gonna do this. Well, there you have it. Side number 2 is done, or at least as done as it's gonna be today. This is still all just tacked together. I think I'm gonna come back in the morning when it's a little bit cooler and finish welding all the stuff that I did today. Good morning and welcome to, I think we're on day 4 working on this thing. It's actually starting to look like something now, so I'm starting to feel that bit of payoff, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So let's take a look at what we've got left to do. The first thing that I need to do this morning is to weld horizontal pipe here across the end, and I'm not really looking forward to that because I've been walking through here a lot, and once I weld the pipe in, that's not going to be as convenient. But we've got to go basically from here across to here, making our rectangle. Once I do that and make sure that everything is squared up and looking good, then I can come back through and finish welding all of these joints. This frame is just tacked together at this point. And then we'll have a couple more things to do. One of those things is I need to come on the bottoms of all these uprights and weld a piece of angle iron on there so that I can bolt up some boards here along the bottom. That shouldn't be too difficult. What's gonna take forever is I need to come through here and weld angled slats all the way down the line. I'm gonna quit talking, let's get to work. Oh, this looks heavy, goodness. Guess that's why we do it first thing in the morning instead of last thing in the evening. Oh, lordy! Ugh. There we go. All right, now that these 2 pieces are in place, I've got a lot of welding to do. So I'm gonna do that and then we'll check back in. All right, the main frame structure is all welded now. So I think next I'll go ahead and start welding the pieces of angle iron on the bottom so that I can attach boards. All right, I'm pretty sure these are 2x8s. And if we want 3 of them, it's about 22 inches. And just like that, we've got one more thing checked off the list, and now I'm down to, I'm gonna tackle the part of this job that I've kind of been dreading the most, and that is welding in all the angled slats. But I have found in my life, this has been true time and time again, that I build it up in my head to be worse than it's actually gonna be, and once I just do it and get it done, it's really not that bad. The reason why I'm kind of dreading it though is because I've got to figure out the right angle, the right length, and then I either need to fill gap or I'll need to grind each one of these pieces. So it's going to be a lot of tedious work, but once it's done, it'll be done forever. But before we get going too much with that, I'm going to answer a question that I get quite often, and that is, why do you have these angled slats in the first place, or why are they on an angle specifically? Now, I think it's pretty obvious of why they're here at all. I mean, yeah, you could just leave it open like this. The cattle could eat just fine, but you know, sooner or later, one of those cows is going to end up in the feeder because there's really nothing holding them back. The reason why these are angled is because for some reason, if a cow has to like cock her head to the side, reach in, straighten it back out, and then grab her hay, she is far less likely to then cock her head and pull it back out with her mouth full and drop hay on the ground. If these slats are perfectly vertical, that's still a problem. They'll still pull hay out and drop it on the ground and step on it and waste a bunch of it that way. For whatever reason, I don't know who figured this out, but I mean, what a smart person. When they're angled like that, the cattle are far less likely to pull hay out and drop it on the ground. It's the next morning. I think we're on day 5 now. I got a lot of these angled slats tacked into place yesterday. 2 sides are done, and then I've still got this side. I probably would have been able to finish yesterday, but I ran out of metal and I ran out of drinking water, and those are 2 things that I kind of need. So we're back at this again this morning, and I think today I can get it done. I'm contending with, or I should say, I'm being kept company by an airplane this morning. And so I don't know how much of that is going to come through in the audio. This time of year, that's just kind of the way it goes around here. This morning I dug around in the shop, and I think I found enough little drop pieces, scrap pieces of that 1.5-inch square tubing that I'll have enough to complete the feeder without having to buy any. I was afraid that I might have to make a trip to the steel yard, but now it's looking like I don't have to. That ain't going anywhere. Well, dare I say, I think I'm done welding on this thing. really, I'm just about finished with it. The only thing that's left to do is just to add the boards here on the bottom, and then it will be completely done. But yeah, I've looked this thing over time and time again. I can't find any welds that I missed, so I think I'm good. Now that it's all said and done, it looks like I will be able to feed somewhere between 18 and 20 cows at this thing at one time. I'm not really sure exactly what the number is going to be, because when they get into the corners, I don't know yet how they're going to be able to kind of maneuver their heads and get squeezed in there. I think what I really like about this feeder is that I can feed round bales out of this. I could feed large square bales. I could feed small square bales. I could feed loose feed if I wanted to. Pretty much anything that they can eat, I can feed here. Since this feeder only accommodates about, we'll just say 20 cows for the sake of simplicity, it's not going to be enough to feed the whole herd at one time. So when I start feeding this winter, I'm going to kind of have to experiment with this a little bit and see if I put enough hay in there to last them 2 or 3 days. You know, does everybody get a chance to eat that, or do the dominant cows just overeat and then the less dominant cows go without? We'll just kind of have to play with it and see. If that's the case, and I feel like that there are some cows that aren't getting enough to eat, then by that time I hope to have my mobile feeder done, and then I could split up the hay into 2 different areas and feed in 2 different places. So I think this thing is done. Like I say, I still have to add the boards. I may film that, I may not, I'm not sure, but I'll definitely show you once they're added. And yeah, it's always kind of a strange feeling when a project gets completed, because you know, you put everything into it for days on end, and then when it's done, it's kind of like, what am I going to do tomorrow? But I'm sure I'll find something. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.